Well, from the economy to race relations, President Obama largely failed to deliver on his campaign promises of hope and change. Now we're just 2 weeks out from the end of President Obama. And what will his legacy be? Margaret Howell joins me now. You know, we can give it to him a little bit on the economy, give him some leeway there, because, of course, he inherited a financial crisis that, we've been trying to dig our way out from. But there's a lot of this kind of back padding going on right now under these false pretenses. How many people are outside of the job market? Of course, people who have stopped looking for a job are no longer counted as unemployed. So, we don't even know what these official numbers are. But let's start with the economy.
So we saw him skew the inflation rate and the job reports rate. We've seen him do this for the past 6 years. I've been covering this a lot. Here's what we know. So CNS News, they're reporting that a record 95 million people, 95,102,000 specifically, are not in the labor force. Of course, I'm talking about U.S. citizens here. And the jobs that he did create, Leanne, so he wants to be known as the jobs president. He botched over 300,000 manufacturing jobs in 8 years as president. Here's the jobs that he added: janitors, bartenders, nurses, waitresses. 24,000 of the jobs report added. There were 156,000 in total. 24,000 of them were in the food service industry. And I'm not knocking these jobs because these are honest jobs that people need to feed their families. But the problem is, these types of positions don't feed families. They don't put food on the table. They don't enable people to ever break a cycle of debt. So can we really count these as successes if he's adding janitorial positions and food service worker industry positions? Honestly, this is a very skewed report. And this is something that Kit Daniels wrote. It's up on our website. So we really shouldn't count this as a part of his economic recovery. And this shouldn't be a part of his legacy, because we've lost the manufacturing jobs. What if we gained food service industry jobs? So
right. That's what a lot of people were very concerned, that most of the jobs that were created were part-time jobs, and they were also those undesirable jobs that allegedly U.S. workers don't want. So that's why they're having to bring in a bunch of undocumented immigrants to take these jobs. Those were the jobs that were created.
Right.
Were the jobs that, supposedly people do not want. So it's kind of glaring in the failure there. But we're also going to be having to kind of see the repercussions of the raising of the minimum wage. Now, I know a lot of people are very excited about this. They think it's going to be so great, $15 an hour, which is a record minimum wage there in California, New York, other places. But of course, this means that the private sector is going to be responsible for finding the means to actually pay for the increase in wages, which means they're going to have to raise the prices on their products. Some people might, have to lay off workers.
Right.
They won't be able to pay those wages.
We're seeing companies that are switching to robotics or eliminating positions altogether. Small business owners are the brunt of the employers in this country. The number used to be 84% roughly. They're the ones that actually employ people, the everyday people. And what we see happen when the minimum wage goes up like this, they cut their workforce. Now, I come from a small business owner myself, and she recently cut her workforce because of issues like this and with Obamacare. So it's a great thing in theory, and isn't that wonderful? But you put this article up, and I really want to touch on this and segue to it. We're talking about people entering the workforce, many of them millennials, and they feel very entitled. I don't know about you. My first job, I was actually a babysitter, and I think I made $2.75 an hour, and I was really happy to get it. You kind of have to look at the mindset of people entering the workforce. They're entitled. They're narcissistic. They're lazy. They're in
a trophy generation.
I mean, everybody wins.
Everyone's a winner. We're all the same. We're all equal, and it's not about the quality of your work and if you've actually earned the position to be there. Yes,
Right.
so we're having to deal with that as well.
Right. And we're seeing this with Obamacare. People work and save. They put money into flex spending accounts to be able to afford health care. And this blanket, you deserve the best health care out there. You have access to it. It's your human right. Well, that's not necessarily a human right. The quality of care that you're provided is the quality of care that you pay for. And what we're seeing, we have a system that's totally bankrupt because people are taking from a system and they're not contributing back to it, and we're carrying the brunt of it. And healthcare costs are soaring. We're going to see the same thing happen in the business sector because of the minimum wage increase. And you know what? Bernie Sanders, he had a lot of supporters because of this minimum wage increase. That was his champion platform issue. And I hear you, it really sucks. It is hard to feed your family legitimately. And under Obama, the decrease in the labor force, 18% more added to people not working. Not only that, but welfare benefits and recipients of those benefits have skyrocketed. One report even said 24% increase during his presidency. People cannot put food on their families' tables. So this is a problem, but at the same time,
rewarding companies like Walmart who say, I mean, with no shame, that they actually don't pay their workers enough, so that way they won't get knocked off the ability to collect welfare. So they're not only not paying their fair share of taxes there as a big giant corporation, but they're also purposefully paying their employees a rate that's going to force them to be on government assistance. It's just a vicious cycle that we're in. So we'll quickly just kind of move on to some other things of, you know, what Obama is going to leave in his wake. Of course, Republicans now control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. This hasn't been done for almost 100 years. We've got we're on the verge of another Cold War here with Russia. We've got arming and funding terrorists. We've seen the rise of ISIS, of course. And now he's fast-tracking the release of even more prisoners there in Guantanamo Bay. Radical Islamic terrorism on the rise.
Can you imagine people that have been hardened for years in a prison cell, we're going to then release because we trust that they're not going to reoffend. You know, you commit the most basic offense, a criminal offense in this country. You have an overseer, somebody to make sure that you don't reoffend. We're talking about hardened people that have been, you know, even their cause has been even more solidified, being behind bars
being tortured
in a military prison for years. And we're just going to turn them loose now because,
and drop them back into the communities where they're going to be hailed as heroes, or where people are going to be looking to them
survivors
to retaliate. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand the fast track thing. It's not that I agree with, you know, what's happening in Guantanamo Bay, but
nobody's for indefinite.
A little bit insane.
Right.
It's a little bit insane what's happening. And also just the fast tracking of it, because this is what he wants. He did make that promise. He would shut down Guantanamo Bay. That didn't happen. So he is going to at least just ram through as many of these potential jihadis as possible. And of course, we're also seeing this race relations and this civil unrest within our country. Obama comes out saying that race relations have gotten better under his presidency. Of course, this is coming off the reports of that Chicago torture video. President Obama called it, what did he say? It was despicable. You know, so it hasn't necessarily been called a hate crime, of course, because the victim there was white, perpetrators were black. But, you know, then we've got another GOP congressman. If this just gives you any indication of how things are going in this country, there's a GOP congressman today took matters into his own hands. He ripped down this painting, this art that was on the wall. This was Representative Duncan Hunter, and the art belonged to Lacey Clay, a Democrat out of Missouri. So this congressman, his office had allowed this piece to be displayed there at the U.S. Capitol.
That's right. So
it's art depicting cops as pigs.
That's right. They have these contests, and if you walk through the halls of Congress, they allow sometimes students, sometimes art students, sometimes private citizens. They hold these art contests. And this particular picture, it had painted police officers with the faces of pigs, and they were brutalizing black people in this painting. Total gross distortion of law enforcement in this country. You talked about race relations getting better. What we're actually seeing is the media marginalizing people, painting people into corners, like, you know, fueling the flames of this fire of the race war that is ongoing in this country. And what happened this week, despicable, absolutely a hate crime, but it's indicative of the entire nation and the way things are right now. I don't know what report he's looking at gotten better. I mean, really? Right. He's not watching our show.
Well, he's very delusional. And I think if you know, in his way of like gotten better in the sense that now people are viciously kind of fighting back for what they see as injustice. They're now taking matters into their own hands. CNN actually attacked Paul Joseph Watson for linking the Chicago torture video to Black Lives Matter. They did a little hit piece on him. The Washington Post is worried that this videotaped torture is going to provide evidence of the anti-white racism and feed into that narrative, the pro-Trump narrative that white people are facing rampant discrimination in America. And of course, it is on the rise. We actually have some other black supremacist videos being passed around on Twitter now where they're actively calling for more people to kidnap and torture white people. This is the new America, and this, you know, thankfully soon it's going to be Trump's America. We'll see what he has to do with it. Well, Margaret Howell, thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to the show tonight. Hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you here again Monday at 7 p.m. Central.
In case you haven't heard, Infowars has become the most influential media outlet in America. We're making freedom go viral. And now we are proud to announce a new weapon in the epic battle against the globalists. Infowars Prime, where you can watch live high-definition feeds of The Alex Jones Show, plus exclusive insider videos from the Infowars crew and behind-the-scenes action. Go to Infowars.com/app and download today. Infowars Prime is available right now for your iPhone or Android. You will have access to exclusive videos that you can't see anywhere else. And that means live coverage of events and breaking news on location as it happens. You can also take advantage of amazing deals from the Infowars store that are only available for Infowars Prime subscribers. That's Infowars Prime at Infowars.com/app. And if you can hear my voice, you are the resistance.